The relationship between mining and Ras Al Khaimah, which is one of the 7 emirates that make up the UAE, could almost be compared to that between Abu Dhabi and oil. In January of 2008, Ras Al Khaimah Minerals and Metals was formed by the Ras Al Khaimah Investment Authority, RAKIA, to cater to the growing demand for industrial minerals and metal resources and to identify opportunities in emerging markets such as Africa, Eastern Europe, and the Far East. This year, the company committed to investing around $1 billion, which will take its asset base by the end of the year to over $4 billion US. I spoke to Madhu Koneru, Managing Director of RMMI, about the mining sector in the UAE, what they aimed for in ventures and acquisitions, and I also asked him about the metals and minerals of the future. Ras Al Khaimah Minerals and Metals was formally announced in 2008, around January 2008. But for several years, up to that date, you were already operating in certain markets in Asia, for example. So what led to the creation of this entity?
In 2006, His Highness Sheikh Saud bin Sakar became the Crown Prince of Ras Al Khaimah. And one of his main ideas was to, after he became the Deputy Ruler Crown Prince, was to build infrastructure in the city, which has been lacking for quite some time. And one of the main important components, what he had realized, was the cost of building this infrastructure is going to go up. So his idea was, why don't we go and invest in the natural resources directly, so that there is a direct or indirect hedging to the infrastructure cost, what they're going to build in Ras Al Khaimah.
And what is your relationship with Trimex?
Trimex has been associated with Ras Al Khaimah for the last 35 years. We've been supplying all the raw materials required for the cement industry. And in fact, Rak Ceramics buys most of the raw material from us. So when His Highness came up with this idea, his first choice was us to become his partners so that we can manage all the technical side of the business by itself. We bring in a lot of technical expertise from Trimex into RMMI as and when required. But RMMI by itself has also got certain its own technical people, geologists and engineers and others.
You are based out of Ras Al Khaimah, which is one of the emirates that make up the UAE. How vital is the mining and energy sector in that particular emirate?
See, one of the, out of all the 7 emirates, Ras Al Khaimah is the one which understands mining very easily, because they've been traditionally in the mining business for the last 40 years. All the limestone, all the mountains which you see in Ras Al Khaimah they've been mining over there for the last 40 years. All the cement which is used in UAE is manufactured out of Ras Al Khaimah. And that cement comes from the limestone mines which are sitting right now in Ras Al Khaimah. All the ready mix, which is with all the buildings coming up in UAE, the concrete blocks are all manufactured, are all produced from the aggregate out of Ras Al Khaimah. So they understand the mining business very, very well as a government. It is more to go international and invest in metals and minerals which are not existing in the country, but they will be utilizing it in the future. And one of them is copper, out of the base metals. Copper is very heavily used in infrastructure. It is not available in Ras Al Khaimah. So we decided to invest that in Congo and Armenia, where there's a huge resources of copper. And the second one is coal. We know that there's going to be a shortage of energy in this part of the world, and coal is one of the cheapest sources of energy. And we decided to focus in Indonesia on the coal assets.
Well, what can you tell us about the richness of the ground here? What is the main metal found in this part of the world?
In this part of the world, I'll be more broad about it, not specifically UAE. UAE is limestone and aggregate. In Oman, you have copper and chrome, which are already operational mines owned by the government and operated by the government. There's smelters over there. And in Saudi Arabia, we have rock phosphate and bauxite. There's a company called Ma'adin, which is now, I think they're planning to go for an IPO very soon. They're developing the rock phosphate and bauxite mines right now.
In terms of your operations, how big a chunk does the UAE market represent?
In terms of our operations, it is not very big within UAE, because what we do in UAE is only the forward integration of part of the business. That's any processing which is required. The actual mining happens in other countries. So like even in Ceramin, we bring the clays from Indonesia. There's very little processing which happens here. But in the future going forward, if there is a good energy available at a good quantities available at a feasible price, it becomes more feasible to set up more processing plants in this part of the world. An example is how Dubal manufactures aluminium. They bring their alumina from Australia, but alumina is made of bauxite, and the bauxite mines are in Australia. So even though they've been operational for the last 35 years, only last 3-4 years you must be seeing Dubal going out and investing in mines now, because the cost of the natural mineral itself has gone up. And for us to set up a similar plant like Dubal maybe instead of aluminium it could be in copper, the key thing is going to be energy cost. Whereas Dubai does not have that problem right now because they've got the economics of scale. They're one of the largest producers of aluminium right now. But energy cost is very important. So if we get the coal, put up the power plants, then the energy cost goes down, then it becomes feasible to put up more smelters. Could be copper smelter, could be chrome or anything else. So we need to address the energy issue first, and that's what we are doing right now.
What regions are you expanding in? Which are the busiest routes for you at present time?
We have been busy in Congo and Armenia. We have been working in Indonesia last 1 year. We have lined up a few assets, coal assets, which we want to buy. We should be announcing them very soon. So we've been very busy in Indonesia. And then overall as a company, we have a metrics. We don't want to expose ourselves in any market or any one of the products more than 30%. So there's a very clear spread out. So with the investments we have done in Congo and Armenia, we need to do something in Indonesia. So it balances out our risk.
You mentioned coal and copper a lot. Are these, in your opinion, the metals and minerals of the future?
Like I said, there are a lot of minerals and metals. Metals, you have lead, zinc, copper, aluminium. We decided to focus on the infrastructure related metals, that is copper. Copper is directly related to infrastructure. It's used for building cables and various other infrastructure related building materials. And coal is again related to infrastructure because it's energy related. In industrial minerals you have again iron ore, bauxite. Aluminium is more related to automotive industry, whereas coal is directly related to infrastructure. If you're trying to grow infrastructure in your city, you need to have energy, and that's related to coal.
Let's talk about the business side of things a little bit. What do you usually target, or what are the decisive factors when you're looking at ventures or acquisitions?
Primarily in mining business, most of the mineral resources are in the remote places, so we have to manage the local issues. So what we do is that we identify people who own mines but do not have enough capital requirement for them to ramp up their production. So we go in there, work along with them, understand the technical details of the project, and then we help them grow the business. So we continue to keep the mine owners over there. We don't try to buy them out 100%. If they continue to be there with 20% or 30% equity, they become the project owners. And that's a very key thing. We need to have local people being the project owners rather than we going as foreigners over there. Because in mining, you're dealing with, most of the mines are in remote places. There are a lot of villages around, and they're very ignorant people. And we need to have a local project owner who's managing it. And that's a very key important component. You can find resources which are very rich under the ground. There's a huge market for it. So from an Excel sheet point of view, it could be making a lot of money. But if you don't manage your local issues, social responsibilities very well, you can have a lot of challenges in trying to get that mineral out, even though it can make a lot of money. So the best solution for that is to find the mine owners and go work with them, and these are local mine owners, and help them grow, and so that they become your champions in that region.
And what can you tell us about your growth and revenue? How do you evaluate that?
We don't do consolidation in RMMI because it's just an investment company. Each project is one project by itself we run. So as of now, by 2009 December, we should have close to about $400–500 million of turnover as a group. But that's not exactly what we look for. We look at more how many new resources we have bought in, what is the asset value of the company, because the assets which we are buying are not something which we want to get our returns in 1 year or 2 years. It takes 10–15 years for us to utilize the mine. So if there's a coal mine we buy with 1 billion tons, it'll take us at least 25 years to use that coal. So there is an asset value more than turnover for RMMI.
I'd like to finish by asking you about your participation at the World Economic Forum on China. What is the message you'll be trying to convey?
Well, the message I'm trying to get across during the World Economic Forum is that the Middle East investors are not really educated on the mining sector. And RMMI will be one of the first Middle East mining companies which is going global. So we will be trying to educate them more on what are the opportunities available for Middle East investors in the mining industry globally, and how can they can take advantage of this opportunities which is coming. Of course, real estate and finance are always on top of the list for most of the Middle East investors, but they should also start looking at mining activities worldwide. And other than, for example, you have coal instead of oil and gas only, you should also look at coal, which is also an energy related product.